Hello, and welcome to Hide and Seek, where we talk about ways that we stay hiding or we hide in all different areas of our lives. And today we're going to talk about unmasking the narcissist. And so, first, let me introduce my amazing friends, Sunshine Lane and Alana Hine. So, Alana, would you love to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, beautiful. I'm Alana Heim, and I'm here for oneness. So, what the heck does that mean? I'm here to help all of us really connect into everything. I think that's going to be huge in this topic because there's a lot of separation. We see how people are, and physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we go through our own, let's just say, traumas. And yet, you're going through some traumas too. I'm going through it, you're going through it. But yet, when I can really feel you and start to understand who you are, I get to see how the world really works together. And I know that everything's shifting. So I'm here to help people start to really bring back their own self healing through wholeness, meaning healing itself is how to come back to wholeness. And I just see there's lots of fragments. So today I think this is a huge piece for us to talk about. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Always love your insight. Sunshine? Talk
Thank you
about
for
hiding.
having me today. Yes, I did. Yeah, no voice. Um, Thank you very much for having me today. I'm excited about the topic. And as Alana was describing herself, right, I'm all about that oneness too, and that we're all part of that, connected to all the different bodies and systems. But, divine, unique, we're also unique souls here for a human experience to love, to heal, which means moving forward in all things, to evolve our soul. We can become disattached in so many different bodies and systems, right? That physical, we can live just through our physical, our ego, or human self, and not necessarily be tapped into that emotional or mental or spiritual or ether. And I love the subject today because a narcissist, right, is to me a label that we have given somebody who abuses mentally and physically, mentally and emotionally, and can be physical. Um, but, years ago, generation ago, a lot of people wouldn't think they were being abused because they were not physically abused. And to me, it's helping people now with the label of narcissist realize that there is emotional and mental abuse. And a lot of people always think, oh, well, that's not as bad as physical. But with emotional, mental, there's nothing on the outside showing, right? People will hide, the black eye or put makeup on, the bruising and stuff. But with emotional and mental, it really affects deep in because you're always getting blamed and it's always turned around on you. You can't do anything right. And people can't see in the inside, right? That emotional and mental abuse. So I do like that now, as far as labels, people can refer to narcissists and start to understand, like Alana says, what that is. So, yes, and it is, our energy and life force. We only have so much of it, and we don't know when it's going to end. And if we're living with something that causes us to put so much energy into every movement, everything that we do, and pulls on our life force, it definitely isn't healthy. And one thing I would like to speak of, if people are with a narcissist that we will be speaking about today, as it's coming through, I'd like to share. If you are staying with a partner because you think that you are protecting your children from, besides if you were to leave, then you can't protect them the same way. That is what your children are like learning. That is what is normal for them. That is what a relationship equals. And if they're little boys or little girls, those are the partners they'll choose later in life. So if you're thinking, right, I have to stay to protect the children, you're bringing forth that in a new generation, right? And there's lots of things to help and support and have you understand and have you seek that help that you need to be with the courage, the strength, whatever it is for you to step out of that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Sunshine, because that's one of the reasons it's time to talk about this. We're all mothers. Some of us here are grandmothers, and those are the most precious things sometimes in our lives, and we will do anything to help them evolve as long as they're open to receiving our help and support. So I am Jacqueline Kane, creator of the ATM, the Abundance Transformation Method, helping people step more into their power and really create the life they desire with health, wealth, and relationships. So thank you, all of you, for being here. And so today we do want to pull back the curtain on narcissistic behavior in parents, partners, families, and workplaces. I have a lot of clients who share that maybe they had a boss who was narcissistic or a coworker. And we want to break down the tactics, the psychology behind them, and the path back to yourself. Because no matter what's happening, you are still important, and there are still tools and techniques you can use to stay in your power and do whatever you need to do, either to get another job, find another place to live, find another partner, whatever it is, you deserve more. So we're going to talk about real stories, some expert insight, and practical tools for anyone who's ever felt like they were chasing someone who kept disappearing. Okay, so let's first talk about narcissists, right? Give me 1 second. I just have some notes here. Sometimes these patterns start in childhood. And so we want to unpack what it's like to grow up seeing seeking a parent's love, attention, or approval that's always just out of reach, and how that shapes the nervous system for life. Because everything, all our habits and patterns, it begins when we're an infant, a child. Times when we can't even speak, we are observing how people react to each other and treat each other. So I guess the first question is, what did love feel like in your home growing up? Was it earned, conditional, or unpredictable? In my own family, I would say it had to be earned. I had older siblings who took a lot of the attention. I grew up in an Italian family. My brother, the oldest, what I call is God in the Italian family. He was the first grandchild, first child. So there was a lot of, I guess, pressure on him, but also adoration, attention given to him. And so when us girls came along, we were kind of like the problem. My older sister, the second one, she kind of reacted, and she reacted by being the bad little girl. My mother told stories all the time how she'd throw a tantrum or she'd rip wallpaper off the wall. And those stories we've grown up with them, and we kind of believe that she was the problem child, right? So by the time I came along, I was going to do it different. I'm going to be the good little girl and try to please everybody and focus on everybody else's needs. And then you become 40 or 50 years old and you're like, I am tired of that pattern. What about me, right? And so that has affected who I attract into my life. Who am I people pleasing? I can only have friends if I treat them this way. These are all things that show up. But also, if we look at what I didn't receive, I didn't get the nurturing that helped me to relax, helped my nervous system to relax. I felt like I was always chasing somebody's attention. There were other people who were very loud. So I had to do a lot to get that attention. And I found, before I understood human design, before I understood who I was, I kept proving, I kept feeling like I had to prove, pushing my way into things. And that's exhausting. So let's start it up with that. Sunshine, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, my thoughts on what you just shared is like
My question,
beautiful.
what did
It's
love
like,
feel like in your house
yeah,
growing up? Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to share that what you just described, right, is it does have a vulnerability to it. And you had said that you had made changes, but everything that you described, right, you could end up as a narcissist, but you did not. So I just wanted
And
to like
that's
roll
the tricky
above that.
piece, right? I probably did have some of those tendencies, right? Before I realized what I was doing, right? Yeah.
Yes, no, as long as I've known you, you had no pieces like that. But two, narcissists, right? We can fall into, but this is what happened to them.
Yeah.
But they are a full-blown adult. They are very aware of what they're doing, and they have choices, and they're choosing not to take responsibility, to blame others, and to seek feeling better about oneself, and being mean and nasty and abusive, so they can press you down. With my life and growing up, I have to say that I am who I am today because I was very loved and I was very supported. I feel like I was always seen, heard, and felt. A little bit of a different situation, right? I came in with a stroke. I'm not sharing this as a victim, but my physical, right? I came in a stroke, diagnosed with cerebral palsy, had to learn to walk and talk. And we all do, but I did for many, many, many years. And I put energy into being able to move and to be able to speak and all of that. But my parents were very supportive on I get to and you be you. And even though they weren't spiritual, I grew up fully open to be me, to play with fairies, to you know, talk to the higher self and different souls. So I'm very, very grateful. I know it's a little bit different than what other people have experienced. Not to say that there wasn't caca and vomit on the rainbows, and it wasn't always easy breezy all of the time. But I am very, very grateful because I am pure love and pure acceptance because of how I was raised. And yeah, I feel very, very like accepted. Yes, which you can have different ways of being taken advantage of and all of
Yes.
that stuff
Yes.
rolled up into you. But I was raised with a lot of love and support. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Alana's wisdom.
My family, I'm the oldest, so I have a younger brother. So it's interesting because it's like I had 2.5 years being the only child until I wasn't.
Yeah.
And my mom, like, she just wanted to be a mom. She's in love with being a mom. And so I came into a home fully loved and being loved. And my dad, I know, loved me. But he was in the male role, like had to work. And so he was around when he could, but he was just always, if there was a computer at that point, he would have been on it, right? Like he was on the TV. So it's interesting because love wasn't necessarily earned, but yet I did feel that almost pressure, like what you mentioned for your oldest brother. Like, it's like there is this pressure to be the child that is going to succeed or make mom and dad happy. And what I've come to realize as an adult now, I also felt like my mom put a lot on me because I became her helper.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of responsibility fell on me. So I don't know that love had to be earned, but I may have interpreted it that way. When my parents divorced when I was 12, that's when things really shifted because Now there was more responsibility. My mom kind of fell apart, but I've also realized as an adult, that's when conditional love came into the picture through my dad and my stepmom, that they really, it was almost like they wanted to buy my love, and just conditional in the way of being upset if you don't do what they want, right? Or if that expectation isn't met. And so it's interesting to think about when you're a kid, you don't know anything about conditional or unconditional. You assume it should be unconditional, but I'll tell you, because of all of our issues, it's usually not, right? Everyone has an agenda. And so I think what was really hitting the realization coming through, and I was kind of looking at some descriptions of narcissists. So just plain description is someone in love with themselves, person full of ego and pride. And so I think spiritually, energetically knew it was important to love myself. And so when I was younger, my family told me I was selfish, because things I would say like, oh, when I get older, I'm going to like have pictures of myself on the wall, or I'm going to do this. And they would be like, oh my God, like you're so selfish and you're this. So that actually steered me to not love myself.
Yeah.
And so I know my soul theme is balance. I'm starting to really see how things work. And it's such a fine line, because I will tell you what I perceive the difference is. Narcissistic personality disorder talks about that lack of empathy.
Yeah.
And I think it's that power over, that control over, right? It's one thing to love myself unconditionally, but if I do it in such a way that I take away your power, I'm a narcissist.
Yeah.
But I think what happened with my family is them telling me, you're selfish, you're selfish. I actually threw it out and overgave to the world. And I'm only now starting to realize, oh my God, how do I go back to loving myself? So there's a fine line of, you could label us all as narcissists if you take care of yourself, you love yourself. But if that starts to overflow in such a way that you are dominating, controlling, that is not God love, right? That is not oneness, right? There is still fear and power and control. And so I think it's really interesting, because it's like, sure, I was in that position, I guess, to be the oldest and could become the narcissist. And yet that's not who I am. That's not what I'm here for. And so there is that inner battle that we're going to have with ourselves, but then with our family, because that's all we know. And if we want their love, we might start doing things we shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh my God, you bring up a good point. Think of all the women. And I don't want to make this about how we treat women, female children compared to male children. But what I've seen in my life, and of course that's going to be pointed out in my world, is that there is a difference. The males that were born are like, what are you going to do, Johnny? Oh my God, you're going to go, you have an idea? Yeah, let's make it happen. But I've seen over and over again the women, and it happened to my older sister. You bring up a really good point. She was like, oh, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to have my own apartment. I'm going to do this. And my mother would be like, to listen to that one over there. Like, why shouldn't we lift her up instead of saying you can't do that? Right. And I don't even know what my brother said, but whatever he said was probably like amazing. Right?
Yeah, because a guy can have this dream that is so driven from the very core of who we are, which is intentional. It's how we're going to create, but it's such power that we all go, oh yes, do it. But at what point is it ego? It depends on how they take that power and use it. But for any of us with a dream, us women, right? It's already, you're selfish. What do you think you're doing? You're going to be home stuck in the kitchen. And guess what? I've never been really in the kitchen. I've always married so that I don't have to be in the kitchen, right? So it's like the dynamics. But like the stereotypes that come in, and whether we do want to say that there is a gender, male versus female. And then what are those differences? Because I think the male, we can see the narcissist play out probably easier because we are, I mean,
Yes.
they just kind of were raised that way.
Yeah.
Or, but as women, we really can hide it well.
Yeah.
You know, but then there's that dance of like, but I have to honor myself, but then wait a minute, I have to still like people please. And so I don't know, there's a lot here to unpack.
Yeah. And so the next question is, how did your parent respond when you had needs of your own? And when it comes to that, in my situation, because, my older sister was causing issues, like I took the attitude that I don't want to bother my mother. I knew she had so much, and there's so many young kids, kids are so in tune. They know when mom is stressed out, right? Or their parent is stressed out, and they're going to sit back and be quiet. So I knew that she was already overwhelmed. So a lot of times I didn't share my desires. And even the older I get, they're like, Jack, what do you want? What do you want to do? I don't know. Whatever you want to do, it's fine. Right? Like, whatever. Um, but it breaks the spirit down. It breaks what we came here to do. And like you said, then we got to backtrack. Like, when do we figure out that all these beliefs I've created about myself from this family, which we all picked, we all said, okay, you're going to treat me this way down there in earth when we get there in this body so that I can learn this lesson. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job. But now I'm 40, 50, 60 years old and I don't want to do that anymore. I've had it. Um, and so for me, getting back to really understanding who I am, what I love doing, and bringing more of that into my life, it's been a journey and a process. And that is a lot of my clients' issues. A lot of women, sorry, um, 40, 50, 60, 70, like they don't know. So we do have to rewind the habits and patterns and rewind, get rid of the programming and the conditioning to say it's time to be selfish. In fact, everybody should be selfish, right? Because even we went to Catholic school. What do you hear during a whole mass? You didn't do enough. You didn't give enough. You didn't. It's like, stop. Where's the love? Where's the, oh my God, celebrate? What are you grateful for today? So, what are your thoughts coming up, Sunshine? What divine messages are coming through?
I was what you were talking about, like how were your needs seen or felt or whatever when you were younger? And I always feel like I was supported that way. Maybe it's because now what I'm going through in life later on, maybe they seen me needing that love or support or desiring that because of how my physical was. So I was supported, and I've always been um, I guess when it comes to family, they support as far as like, are you sure you're not taking on too much, right? Don't burn the candle at both ends, and just
Mm.
all of that stuff.
Interesting. Yes.
Um, Instead of, um, I feel like I've always been felt and listened to as far as like needs and desires, and still to this day, I can share with my like parents on what's going on, or my partner even says, holy geez, like you guys are just so open and can discuss anything and support each other through it. My brother, I have a sibling. My brother is completely opposite than I am in that way. Definitely for sure, as far as like he's muscular, right? He's successful in his business. He lives
Mm.
from that physical and from that ego, um, and had succeeded that way. So we're just completely opposites in the family. So mom and dad probably have like two different children, right? So like
Exactly.
that are completely come from different places. So
You
thank
bring
you
up a
for
very
having
good
me share.
point. Yeah, yeah. That is true. So I have had clients who have said one of their siblings got sick, right? So they took on the role. How can I complain? I have nothing to complain about. They're going through that. And I've even worked with families where they have two children. One child is going through cancer or just something devastating. And the attitude was, well, the sibling just needs to understand. This one gets all of our attention. So good and bad, right? The person who comes in with an issue, a health issue, gets all the attention. And then you're right. It's like, don't do too much. Really, you get to be selfish. You get to do a lot of self-care because it's a physical thing sometimes, right? And they're like, we have to make sure she's okay or he's okay. But the other people may or may not have also gotten that same thing. They may have gotten the understanding that I can't be selfish. I can't think of myself, right? So it is an interesting dynamic of where this is showing up in families. And let's change that, right? Like, no matter who in the family has an issue, and again, it could be physical, it could be mental. You don't know what the healthy sibling is going through, right? Every soul that takes on a body is going through something, right? So how can we dismiss one or diminish one child's needs just because there's not a physical issue? So thank you. Very, very good point. How about you, Alana?
What was your exact question? Like exact wording?
Question. Yes.
Mhm.
How did your parent respond when you had needs of your own?
Okay. Because I totally missed that. I was already off on another tangent, but I can still see I think I perceived that it didn't matter. So I already know, like, how did my parents respond? It's already going to be skewed. Because I'm not going to have seen through their eyes. And the only thing that I can say now is, like, I'm realizing through us talking about it, I learned to run away. I learned to hide. I care so deeply that I will take care of everyone else and not myself. So by running away, I can finally focus on my needs.
Yeah.
And I don't need my parents and their response to my needs.
Yes.
Because I already know I wouldn't have got it. I'm just like you in that sense, what you brought up. What needs? What desires? It's not about me. And yet it really is about me. And the only way I could help myself make it about me was to not be lost in that world. And I think even as an adult, every time I've gone back to see my family, right? It's just innately still there. It just comes on, and immediately I'm like nowhere to be seen in the sense of my needs. And so then it could be easy to just pull away. And yet I still would show up. Why? Because I have kids.
Yeah.
Because I have a family. And it's not about me. It's okay, let's go see the family. And yeah, it's interesting because, again, this is then not my parents' fault, not blame. It's where, for all the time I always was to take responsibility. Oh, I did. But I didn't take responsibility for myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't put the boundaries in place to really honor my needs and desires. And I'm only just now, at 47, starting to really sit in, what does Alana desire? Like, what is it? And then just feeling so like desireless. And it's led me to start to see, then that's the very imbalance I'm creating in my own world to create illness, create toxins, to create whatever. Because if I have no desire, I'm not creating, I am not expressing God's love. Then what am I doing? Right? I'm dying, I'm stagnating, and so it's so interesting and intricate, the balance between all of this of it's okay to love yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay to love others, but then how do those sine waves match up, right? Sometimes they're going to conflict, and sometimes you're going to be here and they're going to be here with you, and you're trying to reconcile and balance it all out. And yet who wins has always been the nature of humanity, which is inverted and wrong. It's not about who wins. It's about how do we just be and love each other for where we are and meet each other. And if I need my own space, say it, instead of thinking, oh, but I just have to overgive over here and ignore my needs.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's the journey, because I'm 61, and trust me, it's like, I'd say the last 10, 15 years of my life have been really unconditioning, and then having more days where it's a Jackie day or a diva day or whatever it is. Like, it's me day, right? Um, and I think the secret is not that we'll never be narcissists, or not that something coming out of my mouth will inadvertently trigger somebody or upset somebody, but it's being able to love yourself enough and the people in your world enough to say, hey, that may have come across the wrong way. Or, hey, that was not my intention. Let me redo that. Can we talk about that? What came up for you during that? It's about just having the conversation, right? Because, yeah, sometimes I'm not thinking. Sometimes I have 10,000 things in my head. Like today, it was started at 7, one thing after another. I got to be on time. I got to be on. And if there was a question that came in really quick and I wanted to respond or say it in a text, it probably would have come across the wrong way, right? So it's not about being perfect. It's about being okay with being imperfect, right? And loving each other enough in my world to say, I love our relationship. And yeah, that didn't go well, but can we redo it? What happened? And how do we teach that at a younger and younger age to say, your emotions are real. I see you're really upset. Can we talk about it? Nobody likes talking about feelings because it's uncomfortable. And yeah, sometimes we step on toes or we say the wrong things, but it's being grown up enough to have a hard conversation without the emotion. Or let me say something to my husband of how I'm feeling, and he doesn't get defensive, right? That doesn't help either. So we have so many relationships, and how can we go deeper with everybody and be okay with swearing, with crying, with being vulnerable, and say, yeah, that's me today. I'm a mess and it's okay, right? Um, so one last question and then we'll finish up. I know everybody has lots of things they're doing in their lives. What did hiding look like for you as a child, emotionally, physically, or both? I think for me, I shut down. Like Alana, you said, I just would get quiet. And the secret is now knowing that I'm a projector. It's fun being quiet, being in those situations where I'm just going to observe and not needing to push. But back then I was like, hey, I wanted to speak. Um, didn't always come through the way I wanted to. But hiding for me was just being quiet. And like you said, Alana, sometimes just going into another room or leaving the gathering altogether. Yeah. Sunshine, how about for you?
So what was it like for me hiding?
Yeah,
Um,
whether emotionally or physically.
Emotionally or physically. Well, at first, my first thought was like, well, I would hide if we're playing hide and go seek because I played that often. Um, but I'd want to be found, right? That was really in me. As far as like emotionally and physically hiding, I think as a child, I was doing a lot of things. Like I really noticed that I was really different than other people.
Mhm.
And how I was different, I knew that I couldn't hide, right?
Mm,
I knew that I couldn't hide that because you can physically see.
yes.
Um,
Wow.
and
Mm,
as far as speaking, to this day, I know my words don't always come out the way other people would pronounce it. And I guess I did this funny thing in my head on like, well, who's to say the language is the correct way? Maybe the way I'm saying you correct, right? So just different things. But I always had a consciousness of being seen physically, and I had a consciousness about speaking, and I still do to that day. But I kind of look at it as far as like I can't hide it. This is me. And from a very young age, I think, that I feel that I would, it was difficult at times, like say skiing or something, wanting to ski and work both sides. And like I couldn't keep the one side. And um, like I was a clown in many, many different ways. But just learn to um, honor and really respect what I could do
mm,
and know that I would have to put different energy into um, doing what I would desire to do, or maybe it just wasn't for me, but I'd give it a good go.
mm,
Um, so I think when it comes to hiding or hiding within yourself, it's always been physically there for me. I've
mm,
always not desired. I think where unique souls really comes from too is like no two of us are the same. It would be pretty damn boring if we were. So I don't feel that I was able to ever hide. Like I feel like I've been really loud that way
mm,
or showing, right? Like I would just love, like if I didn't have walk the way I did, like I think I had to have a collection of high-heeled shoes. But because I can't wear high-heeled shoes, right? I like collecting bowls or something. So my passions and working through different things is just because of the love and support and what I was taught as you get to be, right? You and do that kind of thing. So as far as hiding, yeah, nowadays, like I'll practice words, right? Like on how to pronounce them. Sometimes it takes me a really long time. But I don't feed that energy on like, oh, why can't I just get this word? Or even if the word comes out, or I might skip over a word because I'm just not in the mood to, like, I know it's going to come out. But the funny thing is that even if, say, words come out and they're not pronounced how everybody pronounces them, everybody seems to understand what I'm trying to
mm.
say, right? So
Yeah.
maybe that is a different thing I put out into the universe. But I just feel like I have never been able to hide because I feel that what it is always there physically
Mm,
and like emotionally and mentally.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Alana?
As a kid, I didn't hide. And I would say the hiding's been learned. So
Mm,
as a kid, and it's still there, especially physically, this face cannot hide what is underneath. So even if I couldn't quite express it, you knew when I was annoyed or pissed or like, this is stupid or I don't want to do it. And I feel like as a kid being that rebel, like
yeah.
there's just stuff that would happen and it's like instantly,
Yeah.
fuck no, like no. So there's been that fight in me. So even if we then go into emotions, it's not that they were hidden as much as they didn't have a place to be expressed. There
Yes.
wasn't anywhere
Mm,
to share it for it to be heard, which is why I couldn't articulate. But now to look back, like my intuitive senses were always spot on. And I didn't hide because the things I had to share were here to be the reflection to trigger someone.
yeah.
Hence why whatever I've said, I'd get in trouble. I was misunderstood. I was just I didn't know how to smooth it over and say it in a way that you might receive it, right?
Yes.
It just came out. And all of that, um, I didn't hide my thoughts. I mean, it all came out. So the only thing that I would say was hidden was my spiritual gifts because the world isn't ready for it. So
Yeah.
all of that led me to reverse it in my life,
Yeah.
to start hiding my emotions, to hide my thoughts, to hide it all because it just made people upset, right?
Yeah.
Sure, it was just me like being the nudge you needed, or the spark for you to ignite a whole different fire, but it wasn't welcomed. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's like this is where I keep coming back to, because who you came into the world to be was already there as a child,
Yeah.
right? And so what's the gap between who you were and where are you? And every one of us has our own different experiences. Some of you may have started in hiding and then realized later, like, I'm not to be in hiding. And that doesn't mean when you came in the world you were hiding. It's you may have had the circumstances that helped you. I think for me, the hiding came as a protection for me to be able to maneuver this world, to access more and more information not of this world, to realize what else is really going on, that I kind of needed to be in hiding, because if I was still that fiery Leo rising kid that's just like, boom, like here it is, expressing and triggering and mirroring and whatnot, man, I don't know
How that would
how.
have happened.
Yeah, that again, so there's dances, there's layers. It's just it's really interesting. So that's what I'm realizing.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah, especially, we don't know really who we are as children until later on when we go on our own self journey. And for anybody listening, there are amazing tools to figure out who you are and how you work in this world, what you like, how you get to be seen. Are you one of the people who are meant to like do? Or are you somebody like Alana and I who need rest, and we play more with our energy and we can shift things and get more stuff done when we are energetically in a really good place? So I hope this offers some insight into whatever's going on in your life. Please share and follow, share it with people who may need this topic, and reach out if you need help to any one of us. Other than that, have a great day and thank you so much for listening.
Bye.